Chapter 323. The biggest feature of the 72H Grass Music Festival, which was also the most talked about, was that on its stage, celebrity status and fame were not important at all. The audience judged the singers based on their live performance. In other words, whether it was Liao Jia or Lu Qin, there was not much difference between them and other singers who were just performing on the street. Everyone was standing on the same starting line and competing on the same stage. Of course, famous singers would definitely get a lot more attention, but that was all. Liao Jia's challenge to Lu Qin originated from this. He was very serious. If a singer wanted to break through, 72H was undoubtedly a very suitable stage. He challenged Lu Qin, and other singers were also challenging him and Lu Qin. Liao Jia was a very proud person. He appreciated Lu Qin, but he would never be willing to be a foil to Lu Qin here. Bringing out all his strength was the recognition of the challengers. It was also the greatest respect for the audience. 72H was actually equivalent to a large-scale singing competition. The judges were tens of thousands of enthusiastic audiences who came to Wild Mountain Park. Many of them came from all over the country and traveled thousands of miles just for the sake of their feelings. Near noon, as the opening ceremony of the music festival was about to be held, more and more people gathered in the park. Looking from a high place, it was all black and there were also erected tents. Freedom, openness, and tolerance were the theme of the 72H Grass Music Festival. To participate in the 72H Grass Music Festival, there was no need to buy tickets, and there were no seats. Everyone could watch and leave, and it was not a problem to set up camp. However, due to the large number of audiences, near noon, the management of Wild Mountain Park began to restrict the audience's entry to prevent the number of people entering the park from exceeding the park's capacity. In addition, the large advertising LED screens on the east and west sides of the park would also synchronize the live broadcast of the main stage to play the role of diverting the audience and reducing the pressure on the venue. In addition, hundreds of security personnel and a large number of volunteers worked together to maintain the safety and order of the music festival. On the first Friday in March 2016, the weather was exceptionally sunny. The warm sun shone on Wild Mountain Park in early spring. The crowd was bustling, and the air was filled with the smell of music. At 12:00, 12 outdoor speakers placed in different parts of the park played passionate music at the same time. The blood-boiling singing fiercely impacted the eardrums of all the audience present. The crowd was shocked into silence for a moment before they let out earth-shattering cheers. The 20th 72H Grass Music Festival, a carnival for free pop music fans, was about to begin. The opening music was the classic rock composition of the Black Ravens, Tomorrow Reborn, that everyone was familiar with. This song, Tomorrow Reborn, is not only the famous work of the Black Ravens, but also the pinnacle of national rock. Almost all rock singers have covered and practiced it. As long as they heard this familiar melody, people would always think of the glorious days of the national shake. However, his eyes were brimming with tears. Among the audience at the music festival, there were many old fans in their 40s and 50s. The rock and roll years that they had personally experienced had long been engraved in their memories. Therefore, when Tomorrow Reborn was played, they roared and sang along like hot-blooded youths. The atmosphere of the music festival was pushed to a climax at the beginning. Unlike those ordinary large-scale outdoor activities, the opening ceremony of the 72H Grass Music Festival was so simple that it couldn't be simpler. There were no flags fluttering, gongs and drums to cheer, no beautiful models to match the etiquette, no long speeches from big-bellied leaders to sponsors, and not even a host. On the big stage, the band for the first performance was already in place, and then Liao Jia appeared as the singer representative. This big brother of the pop music industry was wearing a black long-sleeved cotton shirt with the head of Gao Yi, the lead singer of the Black Ravens, and tattered jeans. His unruly long hair was braided, and his dark face looked solemn. He stood in front of the microphone and said to the thousands of audience below the stage, "Hello, everyone. I'm Liao Jia. I'm very happy to stand here with everyone again and enjoy the happiness that music brings to us. It's been 20 years. How are you all?" Liao Jia roared out the last sentence with all his strength, with a kind of hysterical vicissitudes and nostalgia. Good. Countless audiences responded loudly, and countless hands were raised high. Their shouts converged into a sea of sound waves, spreading in all directions and passing to every corner of Wild Mountain Park. After Liao Jia waited for the audience's emotions to erupt, he nodded and continued, I won't say much else. You're here to listen to the song, and I'm here to sing. That's it. He grabbed the microphone and threw it to the lead singer of the band behind him. Come on. The next moment, applause, screams, and whistles sounded one after another, and it didn't subside for a long time. In such a noisy atmosphere, the first band to participate in the 72H Grass Music Festival, which was also a local band in Beijing, the Engine Band, began to sing. Lasting for 72 hours, a gluttonous feast belonging to pop music fans officially began. At the same time, Lu Chen sat in the corner of the backstage area. He was watching the live video broadcast on the big screen in front of him while his mind wandered. The 72H Grass Music Festival did not have a live TV broadcast, but the copyright of the live online broadcast was bought by NetEase Music. The number of online audiences was quite astonishing. Anyone who cared about domestic original pop music would not miss this extraordinary performance. After experiencing the initial excitement, Lu Chen was now very calm. He recalled his musical journey all the way and always felt like he was still in a dream. Maybe it was because everything came too fast. Lu Chen, what are you thinking about? Just as Lu Chen was lost in thought, Wang Jing came over and sat down beside him and asked curiously. Lu Chen came to his senses, smiled at her and said, Nothing, just thinking about our performance. Wang Jing said, It's still early for us to go on stage. You're not nervous now, are you? Lu Chen couldn't help laughing and shook his head. Wang Jing was embarrassed. I'm a little nervous. I never thought I would have the opportunity to go on the 72H stage before. Lu Chen smiled and said, Believe me, the stage that belongs to you will only be bigger in the future. Lu Chen didn't just say that. He built the Nirvana band as his own exclusive band. This band will accompany him to a more brilliant stage. 72H is just the beginning. Wang Jing bit her lip and said, Thank you, Lu Chen. She has too many reasons to thank Lu Chen. Thank Lu Chen for helping her at her most difficult time. Thank Lu Chen for allowing the Nirvana band to survive and be reborn. Thank Lu Chen for investing a huge sum of money to let Wang Hui build the high-end recording studio he dreamed of. Thank Lu Chen. She hasn't properly and sincerely thanked Lu Chen. Lu Chen's contracts for the new Nirvana band, including her and Wang Hui, are very loose. There are no harsh restrictive clauses, no squeezing conditions, but the treatment given is higher than the average level of the industry. Lu Chen smiled and said, You're welcome. We're friends. Friends? Wang Jing nodded silently. After a while, she stood up and said, I'm going to practice. Lu Chen, okay. As soon as Wang Jing left, another man sat down beside him and handed him a can of beer. This chick is interested in you. You can't let Faye down. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rough with you. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Brother Liao Jia, you think too much. It's better that I think too much. Liao Jia casually pulled open the ring and gulped down a few mouthfuls. Then, he said, I told Old Tan that pretty boys are unreliable. Old Tan said that you're not, but I'll keep my eyes on you. Lu Chen shook his head, opened his beer, and clinked it with Liao Jia, You'd better give up. I won't give you a chance to be rough, and even if you are rough, you're not my opponent. I admire your confidence. Liao Jia clenched his left hand, and his knuckles creaked. Tonight, I can beat you up and let you know what a real rock singer is like. Lu Chen was curious. Brother Liao Jia, your new work tonight is pure rock? Are you scared? Liao Jia gave him a contemptuous look. Tell me first, what song are you going to sing? Lu Chen replied without hesitation, Rock. Rock? Liao Jia's eyes widened in disbelief. You're going to sing rock? Lu Chen was famous for folk songs, especially the campus folk songs he created, which made him widely popular among young people, and he was known as a folk music genius. Lu Chen also wrote many rock songs, but most of them were sung by others, such as the Bionics, North Needle, etc., and he only sang Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart. Liao Jia couldn't help but feel surprised that he was going to sing rock at the 72H Grass Music Festival instead of the folk songs he was best at. 72H wasn't a talent show or a recording studio. Singing on stage here was unplugged and untuned. Most of the audience were veteran rock music fans, and they would be able to hear the slightest loss of standard. Also, rock was not easy to sing. Lu Chen's voice was used to singing lyrical and nostalgic folk songs. Could he sing rock live, even if it was light rock? Liao Jia expressed his doubt. You're not deliberately trying to lose to me, right? Lu Chen returned a contemptuous look. You're not afraid, are you? Liao Jia suddenly felt hot blood rush to his head. Afraid of you, just don't cry when you lose. Lu Chen laughed. Okay, let's make a bet. Whoever loses will go back and treat us. Liao Jia slapped the stool fiercely. Let's do it. Chapter 324. There were many singers in the backstage area, and most of them were local people in the Beijing circle. Unlike the band's singers from other places, local singers usually did not camp in Yeshan Park. They naturally formed a different circle from the foreign singers who stayed in the camp area outside. Of course, these two circles were not the kind that were clearly separated and minded their own business. There were people who knew each other and communicated with each other. Some were friends, and some were friends of friends. There was no antagonism. But there were still differences. For example, in the inner circle, in terms of fame and position, Liao Jia and Lu Chen are undoubtedly ranked in the top two. Beijing's local singers undoubtedly have more respect and attention to the two, unlike foreign singers, who hope to overturn them on the stage. Who was Liao Jia? He was a big brother in the domestic pop music industry, famous for his forthrightness. As a newly rising singer and songwriter, Lu Chen's experience was almost legendary in the Beijing singer circle. The story of his song, In the Spring, making the Bionics popular was still talked about. So, the conversation between the two attracted the attention of many people present, especially when Liao Jia was about to bet with Lu Chen. Everyone stopped watching the TV screen. There seemed to be a more exciting show here. Lu Chen noticed the eyes from around him and said with a smile, "It's not enough to invite me alone. If you want to invite me, you have to invite everyone together. What do you say?" The singers in the Beijing circle were still very respectful. Regardless of whether they heard it clearly or not, they all applauded loudly. Anyway, they wouldn't lose out by applauding. Liao Jia was so angry that he scolded, "Are you sure you can beat me? Dream on. There's no problem with inviting everyone. Whoever loses will have to open a table at Dihao. There will be as many tables as there are people. Everyone will have a share." This time, everyone understood. Suddenly, everyone smiled and praised loudly, "Brother Liao is mighty." Dihao was a famous five-star hotel in Beijing. Even a buffet there cost 388 renminbi per person. If they were to open a table, the cost would be even higher. There were at least 100 people in the backstage area, so they had to open at least 10 tables. Liao Jia looked at Lu Chen triumphantly. "You want to fight with me? I'm the one who can beat you." Lu Chen smiled. "Then it's a deal." He extended his hand to Liao Jia and high-fived him to seal the deal. Pa! Two palms clapped heavily together. It was considered an interesting event in this year's 72H Grass Music Festival. In fact, whether it was Liao Jia or Lu Chen, it was not a big deal for them to open 8 or 10 tables in the Imperial Hotel. They were just looking for some fun and excitement. So the topic quickly turned to the music festival itself. Liao Jia gulped down 2 cans of beer and, a little tipsy, began to comment on the singers and bands on stage. The content included the other party's style, works, singing skills, and so on. Among the people present, only he was qualified to do such a thing. Even Lu Chen wasn't qualified enough. Liao Jia was very outspoken. If he thought it was good, then it was not crude. If he thought it was not good, then it was not good. He did not use repetitive words or clichés that would not offend people, but his comments were quite sharp and on point. Lu Chen listened more than he spoke, and he also discussed a few words with Liao Jia. The surrounding singers were all attracted over. One of the most important purposes of the 72H Grass Music Festival was to communicate. To be able to listen to the live comments of this big shot in the music industry was definitely a rare experience for them. It was also an excellent opportunity to increase their experience and knowledge. The stones from other mountains could be used to attack jade. By absorbing other people's strengths and comparing them to other people's weaknesses, one could completely improve oneself. As time passed, Liao Jia's talkative nature did not decrease. Some of the singers around him and Lu Chen went on stage and left, while others came in to fill in, forming a unique circle in the backstage area. The types of singers invited to the 72H Grass Music Festival were very complicated. Of course, there was no lack of existences to hold the stage. For example, today's big shots included Liao Jia and Lu Chen, as well as a few famous local singers. However, whether it was Liao Jia or Lu Chen, or a few others, their order of appearance was quite late. According to the time, Liao Jia would go on stage to sing at around 7:30 in the evening. Lu Chen was an hour away from him. However, this time was definitely not fixed. 72H was different from a normal concert. First of all, it was very long. Secondly, the time when the singer would go on stage was very variable. This was mainly reflected in the return stage. On this stage, even if a singer or a band was completely unknown and nobody knew their name, as long as they produced sufficiently wonderful and outstanding works, or displayed superhuman singing talent, they would be recognized and loved by the live audience, and they would even request to return to the stage. The audience's evaluation was the only standard to measure a singer's performance. The longer and more enthusiastic the audience's applause, the louder and more impassioned the cheers, and the more sincere and intense the request to return stage, then the more honor this singer would win. Although 72H did not give out awards, and there were no trophies or bonuses, this was definitely a place where one could become famous overnight. Therefore, the singers and bands that could go on stage would basically all display their full strength. Among the more than 10 singers and 4 bands that had already appeared, there was a singer and a band that stood out and received high praise from Liao Jia. Especially the female singer, Mu Mu. Her self-played and sung "Do" made Liao Jia slap the table and praise it. At the same time, she also received crazy cheers from the audience. The audience used their applause to ask her to return stage and sing a second song. Liao Jia said to Lu Chen, "You should sign her." Lu Chen was speechless. He also thought that this female singer named Mu Mu was very strong, but currently, his studio did not have any requests to sign her. If he took too big a step, it was easy to pull his balls. Moreover, even if he did not talk about the music festival, there were too many capable singers in Beijing that no one wanted to sign. If Lu Chen's studio released the news, there would definitely be a lot of talents coming over to be taken in. Therefore, even if he missed out on this Mu Mu, there was nothing to regret. However, regarding Lu Chen ignoring his opinion, Liao Jia expressed great disdain. "You must be afraid that your husband will be jealous, so you don't dare to sign this female singer." He humphed and said, "Your husband is pretty good." Lu Chen was very speechless about this. With great difficulty, it was finally 7 p.m., and it was finally Liao Jia's turn to go on stage. The reason why the time was brought forward and not delayed was because there were a few singers who gave up at the last minute or applied to adjust the time on stage. This kind of situation was very common in music festivals. As soon as Liao Jia went on stage, he immediately received a warm welcome from the audience. He did not disappoint, and brought out his own original song for the first song, Memorial Day. A pure-blooded national rock work. Chapter 325. Liao Jia was a singer with a lot of character. At first glance, he did not look like a famous singer at all. Instead, he looked like the kind of gangster that was commonly seen in Hong Kong films. When he had nothing to do, he would sit in an old tea house and drink tea and snacks, while secretly commanding a group of underlings to collect protection fees from everywhere. In the circle, Liao Jia was also recognized as a forthright and loyal person. His aura was very unique, and when people faced him, they would involuntarily feel a trace of awe. But when he appeared on the stage with a guitar, he was a completely different Liao Jia. This Liao Jia was a singer, a rock singer, a veteran who could give up everything for his ideals. When he strummed the steel strings and opened his mouth to roar the first line of the lyrics, the thousands of audience around the stage all boiled up, as if a ladle of cold water had been poured on boiling oil, exploding with a sizzling sound. In memory of the frivolity of youth, in memory of the dead love, in memory of the everlasting friendship, Liao Jia used this original song, Memorial Day, to sing his longing and nostalgia for the past years, as well as his anger and confusion towards the strange and dazzling world. The powerful rhythm and melody, the rough but real lyrics, coupled with his unique hoarse roar, made the audience feel as if they had returned to that period of rock and roll. They sang randomly with Liao Jia, roared loudly, shouted together, and commemorated together. In the backstage area, all the singers, including Lu Qin, stood up and paid tribute to the rock veteran who had never really given in. Many fans once said that Liao Jia, who wrote Ivy House and Old Guy, had fallen, and that he had turned his back on rock and roll in the declining era of the country and chose to compromise with the market. However, at this moment, Liao Jia, who was standing on the stage, was still that angry young man in a black t-shirt and blue jeans, with long hair, who roared his dream of freedom with a guitar and singing. The atmosphere of the music festival was instantly pushed to a climax. The cheers and applause of the audience were like a tide, each wave higher than the last, and countless people were shouting his name. Liao Jia. This name was also a symbol of the past era. By the time he finished singing Memorial Day, Liao Jia was already sweating profusely and panting. Time was merciless, and the former rock and roll youth was now old. His addiction to cigarettes and alcohol had greatly damaged his health, making it impossible for him to return to his peak state. Just like Memorial Day. It was undeniable that Liao Jia's new rock and roll work was very tasty. It was 100% Chinese rock and roll, but whether it was the melody or the lyrics, there was not much novelty. It could not be compared with classics such as Ivy House or Old Guy. Although the audience was excited by Liao Jia's performance, they were obviously not completely satisfied. Old Man. No one knew who started it, but it soon became the main melody of the scene, Old Man. The audience wanted to listen to the old song that embodied the feelings of the country again. As expected, Liao Jia satisfied everyone's request and sang Old Guy again. Old Guy was written in the late 1990s. It was a classic work released by Liao Jia when the national rock scene was dispirited. At that time, this album was regarded as the last glory of the national rock scene. Since then, Liao Jia had no works that could be compared with it. Almost 20 years had passed, but the charm of the song had not faded. Instead, it had become more and more intoxicating as time passed. However, Liao Jia's state of mind when he sang the song again was different. There was too much vicissitudes and helplessness. Instead, the scene quieted down. Listening to the familiar melody and listening to Liao Jia's voice, which was no longer young, many old fans could not help but shed tears and sing along silently or softly. Romance was always blown away by the wind and rain. No matter how unwilling they were, the national rock scene was already a thing of the past. The 72H Grass Music Festival could not save pure rock and roll, just as Liao Jia could not save the national rock scene. At this moment, many fans forgave Liao Jia's betrayal of rock and roll from the bottom of their hearts. It was enough to have that period of time. Liao Jia felt the emotions of the audience at the scene and was deeply infected by it. In the end, his eyes also turned red. After playing the last note, Liao Jia bowed deeply with his guitar. He used this way to thank these most lovely, most sincere, most loyal fans. Go. 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 The next moment, the same shouts rang out like a tsunami. This was a request for Liao Jia to return to the stage. According to the rules of 72H, whether it was a singer or a band, they could only sing a maximum of 2 songs on stage. However, if they performed well enough and were requested by the audience to return, they could sing 1 more song. The audience of 72H was very picky. It was not easy to get the approval of most of them. From noon until now, there were only a few singers and bands who were requested to return. After singing 2 high-intensity songs in a row, Liao Jia was not only sweating, but even his cotton shirt was soaked with sweat. However, he did not show the slightest fatigue. Instead, he was in high spirits and his face was glowing, especially his pair of eyes that were amazingly bright. No one would refuse a fan's request to return, and Liao Jia was no exception. The 3rd song he sang was also his famous song, Ivy House. This rock and roll work was not as intense as Old Guy. It was more nostalgic, and the melody and rhythm leaned towards a light rock and roll style. It was very suitable as the closing song. Liao Jia's voice was a little hoarse, but Ivy House was still sung with such flavor that the fans at the scene were intoxicated. In the end, although there were still many fans who continued to shout, "Go," trying to keep this rock and roll veteran. However, Liao Jia did not break the rules of 72H. He bowed repeatedly and thanked them before leaving the stage. He left the stage to the newcomer. When Liao Jia returned to the backstage area, all the singers applauded together to express their respect. Liao Jia smiled and cupped his hands in return. "Thank you, thank you." He strode back to Lu Chen's side and sat down in his original position. He reached out to wipe the sweat on his forehead and asked impatiently, "How is it? Do you still have confidence?" His expression was completely like a naughty child who had just obtained a big slingshot and was showing it off to his friends. Lu Chen smiled and gave him a thumbs up. "Brother Liao is mighty." Lu Chen sincerely admired Liao Jia's youthful spirit. Some singers sang better as they got older. Liao Jia was obviously such a singer. It was really good to listen to him live. "Don't give me that," Liao Jia glared at him, and his eyes dimmed a lot. "Actually, I know that the first song I wrote wasn't that good. Now I can only rely on my past achievements to get popular." Lu Chen tried to comfort him. "Brother Liao, you can't say that, you don't have to comfort me." Liao Jia shook his head. He patted Lu Chen's shoulder and wiped it. "The future of the music industry belongs to you guys." Lu Chen really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After Liao Jia finished and Lu Chen went on stage, there were 3 singers and a band in the middle. Among them, the 3 singers who went on stage after Liao Jia were not famous. The quality of the works they brought was mediocre. Although they sang very hard, they didn't get much applause and recognition from the audience. The style of the 72H Grass Music Festival was like this. If you didn't perform well on stage, then don't expect the audience to give you face. There was no live support here. If the singer asked the fans for applause, they would only get boos. But the band Wednesday, who was in front of Lu Chen, made people's eyes light up. Wednesday was quite famous in the rock circle. The lead singer, Shi Gang, was a very good singer and lyricist. He created a song, Earth Ballad, which was once a hit at the 72H Grass Music Festival and became a rock star at that time. But Wednesday didn't become popular in the music industry for long. After releasing 2 albums, there weren't many new works. In recent years, they had almost disappeared. This year, Wednesday made a comeback with new works. There was no doubt that they had prepared carefully. One was City of Loneliness, and the other was Hurt. These 2 light rock works, whether it was the melody or the lyrics, were remarkable. The lead singer, Shi Gang, performed these 2 works very well and sang with enough flavor. So far, there were more than 100 original works that were brought out by the singers in this year's music festival. City of Loneliness and Hurt were among the best works. Especially the latter song, Hurt, was even more wonderful. The climax of the chorus made the fans' hearts rise and fall. Applause rang out one after another. Without any suspense, after the two original works were finished, Wednesday also received the treatment of returning to the stage. The returning song was the song that made them famous, Earth Ballad. 10 years to sharpen a sword. Liao Jia, who was watching the scene from the backstage area, said to Lu Chen, Gang Zi has really matured. Lu Chen asked, are you friends with him? Liao Jia shook his head and said, not really. I used to know him and chatted a little. Wednesday was originally in Beijing, but then they went to the deep sea. I heard that they didn't do well. Now they definitely want to come back. Liao Jia's tone was very matter-of-fact. The center of the domestic pop music industry had always been in Beijing. Singers and bands that didn't develop in Beijing, no matter how well they did, were not an important part of the circle. The others, whether it was in Shanghai or the deep sea, belonged to the periphery. Therefore, if a singer, including a band, wanted to realize their ambitions and dreams, then Beijing was the only choice. 72H Grass Music Festival was actually a stage for newcomers to realize their dreams. Wednesday had come and gone. Now that they came back, they came prepared and brought out good works. Are you under any pressure? Liao Jia smiled and asked Lu Chen, next, it's your turn to go on stage. Yes. Lu Chen had already stood up and said, but what I'm least afraid of is pressure. If this was a challenge, he was happy to accept any challenge. This was Lu Chen's confidence. Chapter 326. Looking at the countless cheering audiences below the stage, Shi Gang, the lead singer of the Wednesday band, was thrilled. For more than a decade, the fate of him and the Wednesday band could be described as ups and downs. When he became famous in 72H and joined Gem Records, he thought he had embarked on a bright road to stardom. However, there were many contradictions within the band and with the signing company, which consumed too much of Shi Gang's energy. In the end, he had to take several members to the south and stay away from the mainstream circle. However, the idea of returning to Beijing had always been in Shi Gang's heart. He just wanted to make a comeback. He must come back in style and let the name of the Wednesday band become loud in the pop music world again. Now Shi Gang's goal had been half achieved. The two original works had undoubtedly been recognized by the audience. Their applause was the best proof. He couldn't help but clench his fists. After bowing to express his gratitude, he walked off the stage with his team members. But Shi Gang didn't go far. He stood at the bottom of the steps. Because he knew that the next singer was Lu Chen, a popular star in the music world. Shi Gang first heard the name Lu Chen in July last year. At that time, a new singer came to the bar where he sang. The latter's first song was called In the Spring. Shi Gang still remembered the first time he heard In the Spring. His whole body was numb, the blood in his body rushed to the top of his head, and he was so excited that he wanted to cry. This song was so well written. And the author of this song was Lu Chen, a very young singer and songwriter. Later, he gradually learned about many of Lu Chen's works, including Lu Chen's album, You Who Sat Next to Me. Shi Gang admired Lu Chen's creative talent. When he learned that Lu Chen would also participate in 72H and would appear at the same time as him, he felt excited. A singer must challenge himself and his opponent to continue to improve. Most importantly, Shi Gang was very confident in his work. He believed that the Wednesday band, which had been rebuilt by him, would not lose to anyone. On the contrary, he was looking forward to Lu Chen's appearance. He couldn't wait to know what new works the latter would come up with. Folk song? Or light rock? Or something else? If he could defeat Lu Chen on this stage, then his return with Wednesday would be perfect. Just as Shi Gang was in a state of confusion, Lu Chen took the Nirvana band to the big stage. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. The arrangement for the first day of the 72H Music Festival was a bit special. At this time in the evening, Liao Jia, Wednesday's band, and Lu Chen were arranged to appear consecutively. While creating a climax atmosphere, it also allowed the audience to naturally intuitively compare the three. Liao Jia's performance was wonderful, and his strength was worthy of his reputation. Wednesday was a surprise for the band. It was the highlight of the first day's performance, and its original works were of high quality. So what will Lu Chen, who has just appeared on the stage, bring to the audience? Now, the audience's appetite had been big. Although Lu Chen was very famous and had the reputation of being a musical genius, he might not necessarily have a wonderful performance. There were not just one or two celebrities who had lost face on 72H. And the audience's expectations and doubts have imperceptibly condensed into a huge pressure imposed on Lu Chen. Many of the fans who came to the 72H scene were born in the 60s and 70s. Some of them didn't like Lu Chen and thought that he was not much different from the so-called fresh meat in the current entertainment industry. Speaking of this impression, to a large extent, was caused by Autumn in My Heart. Even if they hadn't watched this popular TV series, it was inevitable to see Lu Chen's name in entertainment news and online topics. In addition, the recent rumors of Lu Chen and Chen Fei's love affair with a younger brother had spread far and wide, so some people associated him with idol stars and ignored him as the original creator of In the Spring, Fly Higher, and other works. So if Lu Chen's performance on the scene was not good, there must be people who would take pleasure in his misfortune. 72H was a world of strength. Lu Chen felt the pressure from the challengers and the audience, and he was fearless. Lu Chen stood here today, not to prove anything or show off to others, but to realize the dream he once had. He had no urgency to become famous, and he didn't need to challenge anyone. There was really no pressure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lu Chen. Facing the microphone, Lu Chen first made a simple introduction. With me is the Nirvana band. Wang Jing and others got up and saluted, and sparse applause sounded under the stage. No one had heard of the band's name, and the applause was purely polite. Some people were screaming, those were Lu Chen's diehard fans. Lu Chen didn't care and continued, "Today I will bring you the first work, called Free as the Wind." As soon as his voice fell, the prelude played by the bass suddenly sounded and was transmitted to everyone's ears through the 6 pairs of high-quality outdoor sound systems arranged at the scene. The next moment, the intense drumbeat hit people's eardrums, making people's blood boil. "I'm as free as the wind, just like your gentleness can't be retained. You push away my outstretched hands, you go, you better not look back, endless drifting, the desire for freedom, bear all the vicissitudes alone. I give you gentleness, but you refuse to accept it. I give you the real feeling of my hands, I give you the long memory of freedom, I give you everything, but I can't stay. I'm as free as the wind." As one of the most popular singers in 72H, Lu Chen's work has always been one of the hot topics in the small circle. Many people think that he will sing his famous works. This is the safest way to do it. After all, a person's inspiration is always limited. No singer can guarantee that their works will be excellent. If they don't get the fans' approval with their new works, it will undoubtedly be a blow to Lu Chen's rising reputation. Singing his own original songs is not shameful, and it is safe enough. It must be known that 72H fans are very picky. Lu Chen solved the suspense in many people's hearts with a brand new work. The name of this song is Free as the Wind. Simple and straightforward lyrics, without any esoteric and complex connotations or metaphors. Even without the lyrics prompt on the background screen, anyone can hear it clearly. This is the consistent characteristic of Lu Chen's light rock works. And the melody is still so wonderful and outstanding. It's just that in terms of style, Free as the Wind doesn't have the vicissitudes of In the Spring, the passion of Fly Higher, and it doesn't have the loneliness of Blue Lotus. This song is unruly to the bone. Note, Free as the Wind lyricist/composer, Su Wei. Chapter 327. Many of the singers and bands that participated in the 72H Grass Music Festival had the desire to achieve their dreams. They stood on this stage that advocated freedom and tolerance and did their best to show their talent and energy to the audience. Because among the tens of thousands of audience, there was no lack of representatives from entertainment agencies. Once they were selected by a powerful company, it was possible for them to soar into the sky and step into the glittering mainstream circle. It was the efforts of these singers and bands that made 72H have always been full of vitality and become a very influential event in the domestic pop music industry. But not all singers came to be famous. For example, Liao Jia. Although 72H's stage was very big, it was able to invite him to the stage without paying any price because Liao Jia had deep feelings for this music festival. Feelings were priceless. As for Lu Chen, the reason why Lu Chen appeared on 72H's stage was to fulfill his wish. So he didn't have any pressure. He sang because he wanted to. This song, Free Like the Wind, sang his unruly and carefree nature. It was his understanding of his own life. Perhaps Free Like the Wind wasn't as classic as In the Spring, Blue Lotus, and Chasing Dreams with a Pure Heart, but it was precisely because of Lu Chen's carefreeness that he performed this song almost perfectly. He hugged his guitar and faced the tens of thousands of audience members. He sang in the wind and roared to his heart's content. Endless drifting, the desire for freedom. Bear all the vicissitudes alone. I give you gentleness, but you refuse to accept it, I'm free like the wind. The simple lyrics and melody were repeated twice, each time with a different feeling. And now, the audience very naturally and comfortably accepted this song. It wasn't heavy, extreme, or angry, but it sang to the bottom of people's hearts and sang the feelings of youth. Who didn't have a youth? I'm free like the wind, just like your gentleness that can't be held back. When Lu Chen sang the same passage for the third time, there were already many audience members singing along with the synchronized lyrics displayed on the big screen on the stage. I'm free like the wind. There was no distinction between the stage and the audience. The atmosphere of the music festival was pushed to a new climax. This was the live resonance that many singers who participated in 72H dreamed of. Lu Chen had done it easily and casually. In the backstage area, Liao Jia, who heard the climax of the chorus, waved his fist and applauded hard. This little brother of his was not just for show. He was going to lose tonight's bet. On the other hand, Shi Gang, who was standing beside the stage, had a bitter smile on his face. He had spent 10 years sharpening his sword to come up with a work that he had poured his blood, sweat, and tears into, hoping to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. However, whether it was City of Loneliness or Wound, they paled in comparison to Lu Chen's song. Shi Gang wasn't deluded enough to think that his work wasn't worse than Lu Chen's. Lining up before Lu Chen was such a mistake. After Lu Chen's first work, Free as the Wind, was sung, the whole audience applauded, mixed with sharp whistles. Even those fans who still had prejudices against him had to admit that this was a very good work. It didn't meet the requirements of a classic, but on today's stage, it was absolutely outstanding. Coming up with such a work also proved Lu Chen's sincerity. To put it bluntly, a singer and songwriter like him could sell hundreds of thousands of yuan with a casual song. And there was no remuneration for 72H's performance, whether it was a big shot in the circle or an unknown singer. Thank you, everyone. Lu Chen bowed to the audience, then turned to the members of the Nirvana band behind him and said, "Thank you, Nirvana band." Wang Jing waved her left hand at him, and Chen Jiong raised the drum stick in his hand and made a fancy gesture in response. The 4 young members of the Nirvana band were very excited. It was their first time to participate in 72H's performance. Performing in front of such a large audience, they all went all out just now. Although the current Nirvana band is far from being compared with those veteran bands, and their skills and perception of music are not deep enough, it is precisely because they are young that they have unlimited growth potential. Lu Chen continued, "The second song is also a new song, and it's also the first time I've performed it in public." Hearing Lu Chen's words, many audiences became excited. Originally, many people thought that Lu Chen would bring a new work and an old song to everyone in the evening, just like Liao Jia, but they didn't expect him to come up with 2 new works. It was really an unexpected surprise. Generally speaking, if a singer of 72H comes up with 2 works, the second one is often stronger than the first one. The name of this song is Free as a Dream. When the name of the song appeared on the big screen on the stage, countless audiences couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. At first, they thought they saw it wrong or the backstage computer control display was wrong, but when they took a closer look, they found that it was really called Free as a Dream, which was only one word different from Lu Chen's first song. What kind of joke was this? For a time, there was a lot of discussion under the stage, and everyone didn't understand what Lu Chen was selling. 2 songs, only one word different. Lu Chen didn't explain and made a gesture to the Nirvana band. The prelude sounded. Will you still miss me, my dearest friend, when I decide to let go of everything, go up the road to freedom? Will you still be with me, my most missed family, have said goodbye to yesterday, driving to the road to the future? The first part was mainly accompanied by guitar, and the inquiring lyrics with a trace of sadness and melancholy, which were sung by Lu Chen, unfolded to the people a picture of parting. But then the unfolding chorus entered the climax, and the melody suddenly became passionate and enthusiastic. I want to be free as a dream, strong as the sky, on this winding road, experience the meaning of life. As Lu Chen raised the scale, the theme of the work was suddenly sublimated, majestic and full of the brave attitude of pursuing freedom. The audience at the scene had a feeling of being hit in the heart in an instant, and at the same time, it inspired everyone's yearning for freedom and the pursuit and desire of a better life. Because the road has a boundless heart, temporarily put down the busy and hurried life, to experience the pleasure of galloping freely in the wilderness, to untie the heavy shackles of the mind, and to find the true self. Life needs to be settled. Occasionally emptying yourself, maybe you can find a more reasonable explanation? Who knows, we are still on the road, let that free heart be willfully exiled. The realization that this song brings to people is far more than that. Will you still be with me, my most missed family, have said goodbye to yesterday, driving to the road to the future. I want to be free as a dream, tolerant as the earth, on this difficult road of exile, light up the light of life. Freedom, spontaneity, pioneer, creation. This is the theme of the 72H Grass Music Festival, and the spirit of freedom has always run through the rise and decline of national rock. These 2 works created by Lu Chen in the name of freedom have undoubtedly touched the deepest and truest feelings of the fans and singers at the scene. Whether it is Free as the Wind or Free as a Dream, they are not the kind of rock works in the pure sense, but the spirit of freedom contained in these 2 songs is beyond the reach of many pure rock songs. This has made many people reflect on whether the so-called rebellious, extreme, and even anti-social rock spirit they have been pursuing is precisely one of the important reasons for the decline of national rock. Rock songs can also be free, progressive, and sunny. Perhaps this is the reason why Lu Chen brought these 2 works to 72H. Thinking of his other works such as In the Spring and Blue Lotus, many singers fell into deep thought. At this moment, all the light gathered on Lu Chen's body. He is like the wind, like a dream, free and unruly. Lost. Liao Jia, who was in the backstage area, laughed and turned to the singers present and said, "Tomorrow night, come to the D Hao Hotel. I'll treat everyone to a drink." Brother Liao naturally kept his word. He couldn't do anything shameless. If he lost to Lu Chen, he had to treat. He was willing. Next to the stage, Shi Gang shook his head helplessly. There is no comparison, there is really no comparison. He is convinced. After singing the second song, Free as a Dream, Lu Chen took a step back and then bowed deeply. Fine beads of sweat seeped out of his forehead, glimmering under the illumination of the light. His eyes were bright and full of spirit. Applause, warm, sincere, and enthusiastic applause, like a spring thunder, and then endless, set off an invisible storm at the scene of Wild Mountain Park. Free as the wind, free as a dream, Lu Chen proved his strength with these 2 freedom songs and conquered tens of thousands of fans at the scene. The applause he received was well deserved. Good. Sing one more song. Many fans shouted loudly and waved their arms with all their might, trying to attract the attention of Lu Chen on the stage. Go. Someone roared, and then others seemed to wake up from a dream and followed suit, shouting, "Go! Go! Go! Go!" All the voices converged into one voice, which was the voice that urged Lu Chen to stay and begged him to return to the stage. Lu Chen stopped and bowed again, "Thank you." It was not the first time he had felt the enthusiasm of fans, nor was it the first time he had enjoyed the cheers from fans, nor was it the first time he had been asked to stay by fans. However, here, at the scene, with tens of thousands of fans on the scene, it was so different. They were true fans of pop music. The things they stuck to and persisted in might not be understood by others, but their love was so sincere. To be able to get their recognition, love, and pursuit was a real glory. Note, free as a dream, lyricist/composer, Wang Feng. Chapter 328. At the request of thousands of fans, Lu Chen returned to sing the third song. But instead of coming up with a new work, he sang a folk song of his own, The Bright Times of Youth. Because the mood of the audience has been stirred up by his first two songs, if he sings that kind of intense and high-spirited work again, it is hard to say what unnecessary trouble it will cause. It should be known that there are at least 20,000 fans gathered in Wild Mountain Park. Although not all of them gathered in front of the big stage, it is still quite an amazing number. Once a fan loses control of his emotions and does something irrational, it is easy to cause serious consequences. That's what no one wants to see. Paying attention to controlling the emotions of fans is also one of the requirements of the music festival organizing committee for singers. The soothing melody and nostalgic folk song undoubtedly appeases the fans, calms down their boiling blood and makes their emotions return to normal. In fact, this is very comfortable to listen to, like the comfort after a climax, with the pleasure of tension and relaxation. After singing this song, The Bright Times of Youth, Lu Chen left with the Nirvana band in the applause of the whole audience, leaving the stage to the latecomers. The night is long and the music carnival has just begun, but for Lu Chen, his performance is over. Of course, his former wishes and dreams have also been fully satisfied. Good singing. Backstage, Liao Jia clenched his fist and punched Lu Chen on the shoulder. The song is good. I lost. Lu Chen touched his nose and said, Brother Liao Jia, actually what? Liao Jia's eyes widened like copper bells and he asked angrily, do you want to say that I'm the kind of person who doesn't keep his word? All right. Lu Chen was convinced. Liao Jia turned angry into happy, patted him on the shoulder and said, tomorrow night, D Hao Hotel, you all come. He said the last sentence to the members of Nirvana. Wang Jing and others felt flattered. This is Liao Jia, a real idol-level big brother. Then the singers in the backstage area, whether they knew each other or not, came up to shake hands and say hello to Lu Chen. After witnessing Lu Chen's strength with their own eyes, their attitudes changed greatly. Of course, the excuse that everyone used to get close to Lu Chen was to thank Lu Chen for helping them earn a big meal. The place where Liao Jia treated them was the 5-star Imperial Grand Hotel. For a time, the atmosphere in the backstage area was very harmonious. Hello, Lu Chen. Just at this time, a man in his 30s strode in front of Lu Chen and extended his hand to him. Lu Chen quickly reached out and shook hands with him. Hello, Brother Gangzi. The man was the lead singer of Wednesday's band, Shi Gang. He was surprised. You know me? Lu Chen smiled and said, Brother Liao Jia told me. Liao Jia, who was chatting with others next to him, turned his head and said to Shi Gang, Gang Z, let's go for a drink tonight. Shi Gang quickly replied, okay, Brother Liao. Whether it was in the past or now, Liao Jia was the person he looked up to and admired. Liao Jia invited him to go out for a drink, which was really giving him face. The two originally didn't have such a friendship. Liao Jia smiled and said, you also sang well tonight. Shi Gang's face was red, not because of shyness, but because of excitement. After calming down, he asked Lu Chen, can I talk to you? Lu Chen nodded and said, of course. The two sat down in the corner backstage, and the others didn't disturb them. Shi Gang rubbed his hands and asked, Lu Chen, I want to ask, did your studio sign anyone? Sign anyone? Lu Chen was stunned. What do you mean? Shi Gang said calmly, if you are willing, I want to sign Wednesday's band to your studio. Lu Chen was stunned. He didn't expect that Shi Gang actually wanted to go to his studio. Wednesday's band was not a nobody. Although it had long been outdated, it was still quite important in the eyes of some fans. Moreover, tonight's performance was very good, and there was a trend of a comeback. He believed that many entertainment agencies would be happy to sign such a mature band with a foundation. Lu Chen was regretful. "Brother Gang, I'm really sorry, but I don't have the idea of signing anyone for the time being." He had just acquired Nirvana Studios and already had a band. In addition, the focus of his work was there, so it was impossible to sign another band, even if the other party had great potential. Shi Gang was not surprised by Lu Chen's refusal. He just wanted to give it a try. Today's Shi Gang was no longer the artistic youth of the past. The ups and downs of life made him deeply understand the importance of opportunities. Whether it was for himself or for his brothers, he had to be responsible. This time, Shi Gang was going to take Wednesday's band to take root in Beijing again, and then he would not leave. In his opinion, Lu Chen's studio was a good choice. Shi Gang had an understanding of Lu Chen. He was very clear about the latter's creative talent and ability to create stars. If he could get the support of this musical genius, Wednesday's band would have a great future. Speaking of which, Shi Gang was also called a musical genius, but compared with Lu Chen, he was really far behind. That's a pity. I hope there will be opportunities for cooperation in the future. Shi Gang said very sincerely. Lu Chen's heart moved and he said, "Brother Gang, let me recommend you a record company." Shi Gang's eyes lit up. "Which company?" Lu Chen said, "Flying Stone Records." He felt that the style and positioning of Flying Stone Records should be very suitable for Wednesday's band. Of course, Shi Gang knew Flying Stone Records, but he said with a wry smile, "I'm afraid Flying Stone Records won't look up to us, right?" Flying Stone Records used to be the leader of the domestic record industry. It once declined, but now it has revived and restored some of its peak strength. At present, it is also one of the big shots in the industry. In contrast, the weight of Wednesday's band was inevitably insufficient. They were more willing to train newcomers. Lu Chen said with a smile, "I have a good relationship with Lin Jijia, the music director of Flying Stone Records. I'll introduce you to each other. How do you know if there's a chance if you don't try?" Shi Gang thanked Lu Chen. "Thank you." In fact, he had nothing to do with Lu Chen. It was the first time the two met. Lu Chen was willing to help introduce Lin Jijia, which really made him very grateful. In the entertainment industry, human relations were as thin as paper, and it was rare to have warm-hearted people. Lu Chen simply took out his phone. "I'll call Brother Lin now and see if he has time." The phone was quickly connected, and Lin Jijia was really free in the evening. So, Lu Chen simply called Liao Jia, Wednesday's band, and his own Nirvana band to go out to find a place to have a midnight snack, and by the way, introduce Lin Jijia. Leaving Wild Mountain Park, the 72H Grass Music Festival was already a thing of the past for Lu Chen. Chapter 329. When Lu Chen returned to Zichengyuan, it was already after 11 o'clock in the evening. This midnight snack lasted more than 2 hours. Liao Jia deserved to be a famous glutton in the circle. The nearby places were all first-class private restaurants, and more than a dozen people just made up a table. Lin Jijia also came, not only because of Lu Chen, but also because he and Liao Jia were friends, and it was just a chance to meet. As for Shi Gang, Lin Jijia was still very interested. At present, Flying Stone Records was expanding its strength, and it had signed a lot of newcomers. Like Wednesday's band, as long as they had good works, they could also enter their sights. Of course, such a thing as signing people was not something that Lin Jijia could decide alone. It needed further investigation and discussion, because it involved a lot of specific details. For Shi Gang, it was already very lucky to be able to get in touch with Lin Jijia, a senior executive of Flying Stone Records. No matter whether he could be signed to Flying Stone Records in the end, he owed Lu Chen a big favor. So everyone was very happy in the evening. During the dinner, Lu Chen was forced to drink by several big brothers. In the end, he asked Wang Jing to drive him back. She was the only one who didn't drink. According to Lu Chen's instructions, he drove to Building 7. Wang Jing asked, "Do you want me to send you up?" Lu Chen rubbed his eyebrows and said, "No, you can drive the car away. Just drive it back to the studio tomorrow." Although he drank a lot of wine, he was not drunk enough to go home. Wang Jing hesitated for a moment, nodded and said, "Okay, see you tomorrow." "Thank you." Lu Chen smiled at her and said, "It's late. Drive carefully and slowly." With that, Lu Chen opened the door and got out of the car. Wang Jing watched his figure disappear from her sight. She sighed softly and then drove away. Swiping the door card to open the elevator, Lu Chen went straight to the 17th floor. When he got home, he took out his keys and opened the door. After entering, he turned on the lights. Squinting his eyes to adjust to the bright light, Lu Chen took off his thick coat and threw it on the sofa. "Why are you back so late?" Just as he was about to go to the bathroom to take a hot shower, he suddenly heard a pleasant voice. Lu Chen couldn't help but jump in fright. He instinctively turned his head and saw a beautiful woman standing at the door of the master bedroom, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Chen Feier. Lu Chen felt like he was bungee jumping. He quickly walked over and asked, "When did you come back?" As he asked, Lu Chen opened his arms and hugged her hard in his arms. Chen Feier was wearing a set of pink cotton pajamas from Hello Kitty. Her sleepy appearance had the cuteness of a young girl. When Lu Chen smelled her unique fragrance, all the fatigue in his body disappeared. Since the last time they returned to Beijing, the two hadn't had a good time together. 2 days ago, Chen Feier was shooting a commercial in another city. He didn't expect to give him a big surprise at night. Lu Chen couldn't help but kiss her on the face. It felt really good. Hugging her was like hugging the whole world. There was nothing else to ask for. Chen Feier woke up and said with a smile, "I just came back at night and ran over here." "You?" She suddenly wrinkled her little nose and sniffed. Her pretty face showed a look of disgust. "How much wine did you drink?" Lu Chen smiled and lowered his head to kiss her lips. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. The two had just broken through their relationship not long ago. Now was the time for adultery. And Lu Chen was definitely a very, very strong man. However, before he could taste the fragrance, his mouth was blocked by Chen Feier's hand. The latter said coquettishly, "It stinks. Don't pollute me. Go brush your teeth and take a bath." Lu Chen could only let go of her hand. "Good boy," Chen Feier said with a smile, "I'll wait for you in bed." She said this sentence softly, and her eyes were so charming that water was about to drip out. She was extremely charming. Chen Feier was already a mature woman. After experiencing human affairs, she exuded an amazing charm. That kind of amorous feeling from the inside out made her charm increase exponentially. The so-called natural beauty was nothing more than this. Lu Chen was dumbfounded. After a while, he couldn't help but roar and rushed into the bathroom like a whirlwind. After brushing his teeth and taking a bath as fast as he could, Lu Chen put on a bathrobe and returned to the bedroom. The ceiling light in the bedroom had already been turned off. Only the small frosted table lamp on the bedside table was still emitting a dim yellow light, dimly illuminating the large bed. He could see a graceful figure bulging out from under the loose duvet. Lu Chen resisted the love and desire in his heart and couldn't wait to get into the warm quilt. The next moment, a hot and fragrant female body leaned over and clung tightly to Lu Chen's chest. A pair of jade-like arms hugged his neck, and a charming whisper sounded in his ear. "Love me." As if adding oil to the fire, Lu Chen could no longer suppress the impulse in his heart. He growled and pressed the person in his arms under his body. The bedroom was suddenly filled with the tide of spring, and the waves were rolling. He completely forgot that he was in the human world. Early in the morning, Lu Chen woke up to the crisp chirping of birds. There was a large park near Zicheng Garden. As a high-end community, the green environment inside and outside the community was excellent. Therefore, it was inevitable that many birds would linger around and build nests. They would sing early in the morning and look for food, waking up people who were sleeping. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was a beautiful picture of a beautiful woman sleeping in spring. Chen Fei was still sleeping soundly. Her black hair was scattered, and there was a smile on her lips. In the faint morning light, she looked like a muse. Of course, she was naked. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. His memory gradually recovered, and he finally confirmed that he was not dreaming. Thinking of the love and affection last night, he couldn't help but be tempted. Probably because she felt the pressure from Lu Chen, Chen Fei woke up with a moan. Lu Chen lowered his head and kissed her neck. "You're so annoying." Chen Fei giggled. She couldn't help but be entangled with him, and the result was out of control. In the end, Lu Chen saw that she really had no strength and was begging for mercy, so he reluctantly let her go. Chen Fei used the last bit of her strength to pinch him and said in a sweet voice, "I still have work today." Lu Chen smiled and kissed her back. He got up in high spirits. It was rare that he didn't go out to exercise in the morning. Instead, he went to the kitchen to find the ingredients in the fridge and made a hearty breakfast himself. There were poached eggs, porridge, fried bacon. Chen Fei also woke up and came to the kitchen in her pajamas. She hugged Lu Chen from behind and leaned her face on his broad and strong back. She murmured, "Say, let's do this every day, okay?" Lu Chen put down the shovel, turned around and hugged her in his arms. He smiled and said, "Of course I don't have a problem with that." Chen Fei pouted and sighed helplessly. She enjoyed living alone with Lu Chen, but if she wanted to do this every day, she would have to give up her career. This wasn't what she wanted, at least for now. So what she said just now was just a casual remark. Lu Chen saw through everything. He held back his laughter and said, "Actually, you don't have to do this every day. As long as you need it, I will accompany you anytime for free. Eat, chat, and sleep with you. What do you think?" "That's nice." Chen Fei was amused by him, and the depressed mood just now suddenly disappeared. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Let's eat breakfast." The two of them sweetly and affectionately ate a heartwarming breakfast together. It was almost 10 o'clock when they finished eating. Chen Fei wiped her mouth with a napkin and began to clean up the plates. She asked casually, "Who did you drink with so late last night?" Lu Chen, he thought that this matter was already over. He didn't expect that Chen Fei would still remember it. Chen Fei snorted and said, "Even if you don't tell me, I know. Liao Jia must have dragged her there, right?" Although Chen Fei didn't participate in 72H, she still knew a lot of things. Lu Chen smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Jijia was there too." He knew that Chen Fei didn't like Liao Jia very much. Of course, he didn't like it when Liao Jia dragged him to drink. In fact, it wasn't many times. Chen Fei said coquettishly, "Don't use Brother Jijia as a shield. Don't hang out with Liao Jia in the future. He's good at eating, drinking, whoring, and gambling. Won't you learn bad things from him?" Lu Chen smiled bitterly. Chen Fei said seriously, "I don't object to you making friends, like Brother Tan and Brother Lin. They are all very good, but it's better to hang out with some people and drink less. There are too many people in the circle who make mistakes because of drinking." Lu Chen surrendered. "I know." He knew that Chen Fei was doing this for his own good. Chen Fei continued, "Don't go out these days. I want to finish the new album." Lu Chen said solemnly, "Yes, my dear wife." Chen Fei's pretty face suddenly blushed. She spat and said, "Who's your wife? You're still in the probation period. Be careful that I don't kick you at any time." Lu Chen wasn't afraid and said, "I'm still in the probation period? Then I'll have to work harder tonight." Hearing his teasing, Chen Fei was so embarrassed that she couldn't even raise her head. She reached out and pinched him hard. Ring ring ring. The two of them were laughing and joking when the phone on the coffee table in the living room suddenly rang. Lu Chen had no choice but to let go of Chen Fei and ran over to pick up the phone. It was Lu Shi who called him. Lu Chen hung up after saying a few words to his sister. Chen Fei saw that his expression was a little strange. She couldn't help but walk over and ask, "What's wrong?" Lu Chen said, "My sister has negotiated with SPG." SPG was the SPG Entertainment Company in South Korea. Recently, SPG had been negotiating with Lu Chen's studio about the import of Autumn in My Heart. Because SPG's conditions were relatively harsh, it was very difficult for Lu Shi to negotiate with the representative of SPG, Pu Yongho. She didn't expect that there would be a result this morning. Of course, Chen Fei knew about this. She was surprised. Really? How much did SPG offer? 1 billion won. Chapter 330. SPG's negotiations had come to an end. When it came to the signing of the contract, Lu Chen had to appear personally. Moreover, Chen Fei had work to complete, so their sweet time was destined to be short-lived. The official signing of the contract was in the afternoon. Initially, Lu Shi had been arguing with SPG, sticking to her own bottom line. There was still a huge difference between the two parties. Now that the situation had taken a turn for the worse, of course, there was a reason. It was because KG Entertainment had contacted Lu Chen's studio. KG and SPG were both famous entertainment agencies in South Korea. They were on par with each other and had a large number of celebrities under them. They also had offices in Beijing. Due to their similar status and business, the competition between the two parties had always been fierce. KG's sudden involvement in the introduction of Autumn in My Heart inevitably aroused SPG's vigilance. Perhaps SPG did not place much importance on this TV series at first, but the situation was completely different now. No matter what, Pu Zhenghao would not be willing to let KG steal the peaches. This was equivalent to a slap in the face. Therefore, Pu Zhenghao's attitude quickly softened, and he no longer insisted on investing in Lu Chen's new TV series. This was the biggest difference between the two parties. South Koreans were the same as Japanese, they had a very typical island mentality. They were very good at small details and liked to calculate, but they lacked the big picture and strategic thinking. SPG did not think that the TV series, Autumn in My Heart, would bring them much benefits after it was introduced into South Korea. They wanted to use this as a springboard to get a foot in the increasingly popular domestic film and television market. Lu Chen's studio, which did not have a strong background, was undoubtedly a very good partner to work with. But SPG was too greedy. Back when they were filming Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chen was still a nobody in the film and television industry. He wanted to find a partner to work with and had to use Chen Fei's popularity to promote. Now, he did not even need to deliberately spread the word that a lot of people were waving money at him to work with. Because Autumn in My Heart had created a miracle in the ratings, the possibility of Lu Chen's new TV series losing money was too low. Who wouldn't want to get involved in an investment that was almost 100% profitable? But for Lu Chen's studio, this part of the benefits would never be easily released. Even if it was shared with others, the premise was to ensure that they could win more benefits. The Koreans' way of thinking was laughable. Now that Qing Yaojin appeared out of nowhere, Pu Zhenghao finally realized that his bargaining chips were too few, so he decisively changed the terms of cooperation and quickly restarted the negotiation with Lu Shi. Initially, from the studio's perspective, waiting for SPG and KG to fight was the best choice. However, it was naive to expect two large Korean entertainment agencies to cut their own flesh and bleed to the point of bloodshed in the country. They weren't that stupid. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons and seeing SPG's true sincerity, Lu Shi did not use any delaying tactics and finalized the final agreement with Pu Zhenghao. It wouldn't be good for Lu Chen's studio if this matter dragged on for too long, because the studio's next step was to develop a new drama. The promotion of Blue in Korea was mainly to increase its reputation and status. 1 billion won was only 5.6 million renminbi when converted to RMB. In addition, SPG agreed to import Lu Chen's new drama into Korea at the same time. In return, Chinese artists under SPG would star in the new drama. This kind of cooperation was beneficial to both parties. Luchin's studio would be able to enter the Korean market as it wished, and SPG would be able to do something in the domestic film industry. Once the signed artists became popular because of their new drama, the benefits would be huge. At 2 p.m., at SPG's Beijing office, Lu Chen and Pu Zhenghao signed the official contract. SPG was very influential. They actually invited a cultural counselor from the Korean embassy in China to attend the ceremony. In addition, there were many Beijing media reporters present, making the signing ceremony simple and grand. After the signing ceremony, Lu Chen accepted an interview from the media and answered some related questions. That afternoon, Lu Chen Studios' official account released the news. Autumn in My Heart was confirmed to be introduced into South Korea, and the copyright transaction price was as high as 1 billion won. There were also many pictures in the blog post, including photos of Lu Chen and Pu Zhenghao shaking hands with the Korean cultural counselor, as well as the scene of him being interviewed by the media. As soon as this news was released, it immediately caused a lot of sensation inside and outside the circle. At present, Autumn in My Heart has been removed from QQ Video, but the replay on Beijing television and Zhejiang satellite TV is still very popular. When the comprehensive ratings are not less than 2.5%, it shows a strong attraction. Online broadcasts and 2TV broadcasts have cultivated a large number of Blue fans. The number of members following the official tiaba of Autumn in My Heart has exceeded 1 million, and related discussion topics have always been in full swing. So now when fans know that Blue will be broadcast in South Korea, it is a surprise and they all feel proud. For a long time, it has been Japanese and Korean TV series and variety shows that have been introduced into China in large numbers, especially Korean TV series, which has always been one of the representatives of the Korean wave, forming a great impact on domestic TV series, especially idol dramas. Although the current situation has improved, and domestic TV audiences are gradually tired of idol dramas, the ratings of imported Korean TV series are quite good. In contrast, there are only a handful of Chinese dramas that have returned to Japan and South Korea, mainly historical dramas and adaptation of famous works. It is rare for an urban romance drama like Autumn in My Heart to break into the South Korean market. And even if it does break in with great difficulty, the ratings are terrible, and it is nothing more than a hype topic. The success of Autumn in My Heart has undoubtedly brightened people's eyes. The price of 1 billion won is not very high, but it has also created a new record for the export of the same type of drama. Moreover, Blue fans are also full of confidence that Blue will definitely be successful in South Korea. But not everyone is a Blue fan, and not everyone believes that Blue will definitely be successful. Some people in the Waves blog question that this is the mutual hype between Luchin Studio and SPG, and the transaction amount is seriously watered down. Some people are not optimistic about the trip of Blue to South Korea, thinking that it will fail like other Chinese dramas. Among these doubters, there are many big verified accounts and small verified accounts. Ever since Lu Chen and Chen Fei's relationship was made public, there have been many strange voices on the internet. Perhaps it is because Lu Chen has been too popular recently, and there are always people who can't stand it. The appearance of Autumn in My Heart in the Korean TV market was undoubtedly a good opportunity for these people to attack. Chapter 331. Before Autumn in My Heart, there was a domestic TV series that was imported to Korea called Lover's Lies. It was a typical youth idol TV series. The main actors were new mainland artists trained by Korean entertainment companies. The producers were all big shots in the domestic industry. At that time, Lover's Lies had an average rating of 1.85% in the domestic market. It was considered a popular drama. The male and female leads became famous overnight. When it was imported to Korea, it was hyped up and was called a counterattack against the Korean wave. At that time, the producers were full of ambition. They even shouted the slogan of revitalizing the domestic TV series and returning to Japan and Korea. It made the fans' blood boil and they were looking forward to the performance of this idol drama in Korea. In the end, Lover's Lies had a mediocre response after it was broadcasted on Korea's cultural broadcasting station, which was also known as MBC. The ratings were less than 2% and it was quickly moved to non-prime time. It did not even cause a ripple. MBC was the second largest TV station in Korea. Different from domestic standards, ratings of less than 2% were considered a serious flop. There was no need to save it. It was directly sent to the crematorium. When the news reached China, the producers of Lover's Lies quietly stopped hyping it. The online water army disappeared instantly and became a joke in the industry. With Lover's Lies as an example, it was normal that Autumn in My Heart was not looked upon favorably. On Wave's blog, there was a verified account with the ID Entertainment face view. He sneered in his blog post, "Nowadays, celebrities are generally very arrogant. When they are singers and shoot TV shows, they can't wait to go abroad to gild their reputation. They hire a bunch of water armies and boast loudly. In the end, they get slapped in the face. Why bother? Isn't it better to keep a low profile and be humble?" Entertainment face view had more than 10 million fans on Wave's blog. He specialized in commenting on gossip news and celebrities in the entertainment industry. He was known for his sharp writing and vicious tongue. He had many fans. There were many celebrities who had been attacked by this verified account. Moreover, he was very particular in choosing his targets. Basically, he would destroy whoever was popular and ignore those who were outdated or not famous. It catered to the psychology of a portion of people. And recently, on the blog, the most popular young artist is none other than Lu Chen. It was just that Lu Chen's image had always been good, and it was not easy to find fault with him. This time, the news released by Lu Chen's studio could be regarded as a target for some people. Many people agreed with the idea of looking at all aspects of entertainment, but it was also countered by Lu Chen's fans. "I'm so sour that my teeth are about to fall off. Isn't it a good thing that Autumn in My Heart was imported into Korea? Sour. It hasn't even been broadcast yet, and you already know that you're going to be slapped in the face? Are you a fortune teller? Say that Lu Chen is full of himself? Who do you think you are? I, Chen, am not low profile and humble enough? Why couldn't he say such a good thing? I knew someone would be jealous. Have you read Autumn in My Heart? If you haven't seen it, please shut up." Scram. Lu Chen had only debuted for less than a year, but he had already cultivated a group of loyal fans, especially Lu Jiejun, who was the core of the fan club. Although the founder, Lee Mubai, was basically in a retired state, but relying on the official support, it had become more and more regular, and its fighting power was not what it used to be. Not long after the blog post of "Looking at All Aspects of Entertainment" was published, his comments section was flooded. However, a blogger like him was never afraid of quarreling. He immediately replied to Lu Chen's fans. Lu Sun said that insulting and threatening is not a battle. I am deeply disappointed with the quality of Lu Chen's fans, and I also hope that Mr. Lu Chen can control his fans. At the same time, he also Lu Chen FMX, and put on a fighting stance. There were all kinds of people on the blog. The quality of Lu Chen's fans was not bad, but it was inevitable that some people would curse and say some dirty words in the comments, and some of them were deliberately fanning the flames with bad intentions. Looking at All Aspects of Entertainment deliberately picked out these comments and Lu Chen, its intentions could be imagined. His supporters took the opportunity to join the battle and launched a fierce battle with Lu Chen's fans on the blog. Therefore, the war provoked on the Waves blog inevitably spread to Lu Chen. For a long time, Lu Chen did not like to argue with others on the blog. His personal blog was often managed by Lu Shi, and the blog posts basically did not involve the right and wrong of the circle. As a well-known artist, even if he won, he would be stained with shame. It was not worth it at all. However, this time it involved his fans, and the other party showed such blatant malice. In addition, the direction of the wind was obviously not in the right direction. Lu Chen felt that he had to stand up and speak, otherwise, he would disappoint countless fans. Everyone was supporting him. If he did not say a word, wouldn't he be laughed at? Of course, Lu Chen would not step into the trap set by looking at all aspects of entertainment. He directly ignored this guy and sent a new blog post to all his fans. In this blog post titled, "Touched Forever, Thank You." In the blog post, Lu Chen wrote, "On behalf of myself and Lu Chen Studio, I would like to thank all my fans who have supported me. You are the cutest and most amiable people in the world. Without your love, I would not be able to achieve what I have today. In order to express my gratitude, I would like to announce a very important decision here. As long as the average ratings of Autumn in My Heart in South Korea reach 10%, then 1,000 fans will be selected from the support group and each fan will be given a 3-day, 2-night Korean happy package. If it exceeds 10%, it will be calculated according to the actual ratings. If it is 11%, it will be 1,100. There will be no upper limit. Some people will definitely say that 10% is so high, and that you, Lu Chen, are completely empty words. There is no way you can fulfill it. But I firmly believe that Autumn in My Heart is an outstanding TV series. If it can win in China, it will also be successful in South Korea. Anything less than 10% is not within the scope of consideration. Please wait and see." Once this long blog post was published, it immediately caused a huge sensation among the fans and the industry. 10% was not considered very high for the average ratings of Korean TVB TV series. It was considered to be below average. The popular TV series of the three major TVB TV stations were generally between 20 to 30%, and it was not uncommon for the so-called national TV series to have 40% and above. But for a foreign TV series, and one that was imported from China, 10% was a very high target. Autumn in My Heart was an urban romance TV series. Lu Chen's blog post was tantamount to forcing himself into a corner. If the ratings of Autumn in My Heart didn't reach 10%, then his declaration would become a joke, and his face would be completely lost. While the fans were surprised, they were also stimulated by Lu Chen's ambition to make their blood boil. There was also the exciting lucky draw. South Korea had always been a hot destination for overseas travel. A 3-day, 2-night Korean happy package cost around 5,000 yuan. Even if it was a large group purchase, it would cost at least 3,500 yuan. According to Lu Chen's decision, if the average ratings of Autumn in My Heart reached 10%, it would mean that he would have to fork out 3 to 4 million yuan to give back to the fans. It was definitely a huge sum. How many celebrities had treated their fans so generously? My Chen is mighty. Target 10%, oh yeah. I'm so looking forward to it. Let's quickly broadcast Autumn in My Heart in South Korea. I really want to go to South Korea to play. Although I've been to South Korea twice, if I can get the lucky draw, I'm willing to go 10 more times. There's no need to say anything else. Big Lu Chen, we will always support you. Always support +1. Support, this time, no one cared about that big verified accounts entertainment aspect anymore. The passionate fans flooded the comments section of Lu Chen's blog with all kinds of support and requests for him to get the lucky draw. What was interesting was that the number of fans of Lu Chen's Waves blog support group, Lu Jejun's Group V, had increased by more than 1 million in just a few hours. Through this incident, Lu Chen not only lightly resolved the malicious provocation of entertainment aspect, but also very well united the hearts of the fans, greatly enhanced the loyalty of the fans, and made himself a hot topic in the blog once again. Entertainment aspect, etc. It was undoubtedly an outstanding online marketing. If Lu Chen was the main character, then entertainment aspect had become the antagonist. He was probably angry because of this. Very quickly, he said on his blog, if the ratings of Autumn in My Heart exceed 10% in South Korea, I'll run naked on the streets. Entertainment aspect obviously wanted to continue hyping up, but unfortunately, the netizens were all experienced and knowledgeable. Everyone was used to seeing all kinds of people eating their keyboards and eating sh*t on the forums. Who would care if he ran naked or not? Therefore, other than a small number of fans who went to ridicule him, not many people added to his popularity. But the most interesting thing was yet to come. That night, Chen Fei posted on her Waves blog, saying that if the average ratings of Autumn in My Heart reached 10% in South Korea, then she would pay out of her own pocket to upgrade the 3-day, 2-night happy tour package that Lu Chen had promised her fans to a 3-day, 2-night suite tour for 2 people. The happy tour was a single-player tour, and the group purchase price was at least 3,500, while the 2-player tour was at least 5,000 plus. Although the value did not double, the meaning was completely different. Of course, as a prerequisite, Lu Chen has to include her fans in the lucky draw crowd. Chen Fei's joining pushed the atmosphere of the blog war to a climax. Lu Chen and her fans were just like having a festival, talking and looking forward to it in blogs, post bars and forums. Lu Chen and her fans are in full swing. In such an atmosphere, the group of people led by Entertainment Aspect were completely crushed in terms of popularity. They could only waiting with Lu Chen and Chen Fei's fans. Waiting for the results of Autumn in My Heart in South Korea. Chapter 332. My Fei is mighty. This is a blatant display of affection, but I like it. That's right, I knew it would be a public display of affection after their relationship was made public. The days of dog abuse have arrived. I'm thinking very seriously. What if I get a double date but don't have a girlfriend? If you don't have a girlfriend, you can find a gay friend. My Fei is indeed domineering, and your Chen is not bad either. Us fans are blessed. Everyone, go to SPG's official website and ask them to send Autumn in My Heart to the airwaves as soon as possible. Support my Chen, support my Fei. Ever since Lu Chen and Chen Fei's relationship was officially exposed, the fans had changed the way they addressed them. Lu Chen's fans like to call him my Chen and Chen Fei, your Fei. On the other hand, Chen Fei's fans called him my Fei and your Chen. As for the two's common fans, they naturally called them my Chen and my Fei. Currently, the number of common fans was increasing, and it was naturally very refreshing to see the two of them showing off their affection. Especially this time, the show of affection had caught everyone off guard. While everyone was feeling touched, they also went to SPG's official website and strongly requested SPG to send Blue to the Korean television station as soon as possible to broadcast it. Due to the limited number, domestic TV series that wanted to be broadcast in Korea were all handled by an entertainment agency like SPG. The latter had a long-term relationship with the 3 major Korean TV stations. SPG spent 1 billion won to import Autumn in My Heart. Although they had the intention of using Lu Chen's studio to speed up the expansion of the China market, they were also very willing to recoup their costs. Coupled with the strong request of Lu Chen and Chen Fei's fans, SPG immediately said that they would contact the Korean TV stations as soon as possible and strive to broadcast it on one of the 3 major TV stations as soon as possible. In order to shorten the time, SPG used an unconventional method for Autumn in My Heart. They did not redub it, but added bilingual subtitles on the basis of the original to save costs and ensure the original taste of the work. Of course, doing so might make some Korean audiences uncomfortable, but SPG's positioning was very clear. This imported drama was targeted at young people, and they were the most receptive to foreign films with subtitles. Therefore, on the 3rd day after the agency contract was signed, the high-definition source of Autumn in My Heart was sent by air to SPG's headquarters in Seoul's Gangnam district. On the one hand, they would redo the subtitles, and on the other hand, they would contact the 3 major TV stations. Even though SPG had done a lot of work on Autumn in My Heart, they still felt that it was wishful thinking for Autumn in My Heart to achieve 10% viewership ratings in Korea. Domestic urban youth idol films were greatly influenced by Korean dramas. The return of similar series to Korea was basically a failure. No matter how popular Autumn in My Heart was in China, it had no impact on Korean television viewers. Furthermore, the Korean TV audience was very supportive of Korean dramas. Even if Autumn in My Heart could be broadcasted in primetime, it would be considered a success if it could achieve 5% of the viewership ratings. South Korea's TV series market is like a rock, and it can't be easily shaken. Early spring in Seoul was still very cold, but in the commercial areas such as Myeongdong, Sinsadong, Lotte, and so on, the beautiful women on the streets couldn't wait to put on their spring clothes, adding countless bright colors to this big East Asian city. Song Jae walked out of the entrance of SPG's headquarters in Gangnam District. She didn't linger around the bustling commercial area. She ignored the brightly lit shops nearby and hurriedly turned to the dormitory building not far from SPG. When she arrived at her room, her roommates weren't back yet. Song Jae took out a cup of noodles from the cabinet and boiled some water. While waiting for the noodles to boil, she sat on the edge of the bed and massaged her calves to relieve the muscle soreness caused by a day of training. Song Jae had been in Korea for almost 2 years. As a Chinese artist signed with SPG, she was undoubtedly lucky to be able to go to SPG's headquarters as a trainee to undergo strict training and receive all kinds of training. However, 2 years of boring and arduous training had also worn away Song Jae's initial excitement, leaving only perseverance and confusion about the unknown future. After coming to Korea, she found out that there were many trainees under SPG, and there were many who were better than her. Even the opportunity to debut was not easy to come by, and the internal competition was very cruel. As a trainee who hadn't debuted yet, Song Jae had almost no source of income. In Seoul, where the expenses were high, she lived a very hard life. It was completely based on her unyielding spirit to persevere. The cup of noodles was ready. Although she had long hated the taste, she still forced herself to finish it. Jae. Song Jae had just cleaned up the empty cup and was about to lie on the bed to rest when a few roommates pushed the door open and entered. There were 4 trainees living in this small room. The short-haired girl who greeted Song Jae was called Yang Yani. She was also from China, 2 months later than her, and also hadn't debuted yet. Both of them had a good relationship in a foreign country, and they encouraged and supported each other. Song Jae turned over and asked, "Where did you guys go?" Yang Yani smiled and said, "We went to the amusement park." Song Jae noticed that she and the other 2 Korean roommates were carrying shopping bags in their hands. Yang Yani's family was much better off than Song Jae's, and she was usually very willing to spend money on shopping. Song Jae was a little envious and said, "I'm dead tired." Yang Yani put down the shopping bags and reached out to pull Song Jae up. "Let's go watch TV." Song Jae shook her head. "I'm not going." SPG's management was very strict. If you wanted to watch TV or surf the internet, you had to go to the multimedia room and computer room on the 2nd floor of the dormitory building. There was no internet cable or TV cable in the room, and of course, there was no TV. Yang Yani opened her eyes wide and said, "Don't you know? The very popular domestic drama, Autumn in My Heart, is broadcasting on KGS tonight. This drama was brought in by our agency, SPG." Autumn in My Heart? Song Jae was stunned. She had heard of this drama, and also knew that SPG had brought it to Korea. She just didn't expect it to be broadcasted so soon. Song Jae suddenly felt a little excited. This was a drama from China. Even if it wasn't for her studies, she had to support it, right? "What time is it broadcasting?" Yang Yani looked at her watch. "There's still half an hour left." She turned her head and asked her 2 roommates in Korean, Majan, Hueying, "Are you guys coming?" The 2 Korean roommates knew a little Chinese, and roughly understood what Yang Yani and Song Jae were talking about. They looked at each other and shook their heads. What was so good about China's dramas? Chapter 333. Song Jae and Yang Yani took the elevator down to the 2nd floor of the dormitory. The multimedia room on the 2nd floor was very large. It was divided into 4 separate rooms. Each room had a TV, speakers, and karaoke equipment. 3 of the rooms played KBS, MBC, and KGS TV programs at night, mainly variety shows and TV series. KBS, MBC, and KGS were the 3 major TV stations in South Korea. These three wireless TV stations occupied most of the market share, mainly broadcasting news, variety shows, and TV series. There were also more than 20 cable TV stations, mainly broadcasting imported movies, American TV series, Japanese TV series, late-night adult dramas, and so on. There were nearly 200 trainees living in the dormitory of SPG Entertainment Company. Not all of these trainees were signed by SPG. Some were trained on behalf of others, but the company treated them equally in management. For these trainees, watching the programs of the three major TV stations was both a relaxing and a learning process. Through the TV screen, they could get to know many seniors in the circle and familiarize themselves with various variety festivals and TV series. Everyone could discuss with each other in the multimedia room. Big relief from the pressure brought about by the strict training. Song Jiayi and Yang Yani arrived at the room where KGS was playing. The room was not big. There were 5 rows of seats in the front and back, which could accommodate 50 to 60 people watching the program at the same time. However, when the two of them arrived, there were only 3 or 4 people sitting in the room. It seemed very quiet. The large LCD TV hanging on the wall was replaying KGS's current affairs program. Song Jiayi and Yang Yani greeted the trainees politely and found a seat to sit down. Song Jiayi said softly, "There are so few people." Yang Yani curled her lips and said, "They must have seen the program list. They know that KGS is playing a TV series imported from our country. Naturally, they are not interested. MBC is playing The Queen's Power." The Queen's Power was a large-scale historical drama produced by MBC. The ratings of the first few episodes had already exceeded 25%. It was very likely to become the first popular drama of the year. Moreover, the leading actors were all famous Korean artists, so naturally, there were many people watching it. On the other hand, the Korean TV audience was quite xenophobic. They were not very interested in foreign TV series. Even the well-produced, top-notch American TV series were not very popular in Korea. The ratings of cable TV stations were usually below 5%. As for Chinese dramas, only historical dramas could interest the Korean audience. What Yang Yani and Song Jiayi didn't know was that after SPG brought Autumn in My Heart in, they had spent a lot of effort on broadcasting it. It was already very difficult for it to get on KGS's screen. SPG first contacted MBC because SPG had the best relationship with this second-largest TV station in South Korea. However, MBC was not very interested in the samples sent by SPG. The head of MBC's program department even mocked SPG's people, saying that the 1 billion won they spent would be better spent on charity. At the very least, it would give them a good reputation. What was the point of buying Hua dramas? There was nothing new under the sun. The news that SPG had spent a huge sum of money to purchase a Chinese drama series to expand into the China market had already spread throughout the industry. Most people scoffed at SPG's actions, thinking that SPG had made a stupid move in the face of fierce competition from KG and Han-E. It wasn't that MBC didn't want it. It was just that they were asking for a very low price, and they wouldn't guarantee a broadcast slot. Of course, SPG couldn't agree to such conditions, so they tried contacting KBS, which was the Korean broadcasting station. However, KBS rejected them right away, leaving no room for negotiation. Left with no choice, SPG could only pin their hopes on KGS. Among the 3 major TV stations in South Korea, KGS had always been considered to be pro-Chinese. They had aired many Hua dramas and even filmed documentaries like Koreans in Beijing, so they were relatively more accepting of Hua dramas. Therefore, SPG was not rejected this time. KGS became interested after watching the samples of Autumn in My Heart and negotiated with SPG. However, KGS knew that SPG had hit a wall with the other 2 TV stations, so they haggled very hard. In the end, both parties came to an agreement that was similar to the one that Lu Chen had with Hygiene TV back then. The amount of copyright transfer would be decided based on the viewership ratings. SPG had fought so hard for KGS's broadcast slot. Autumn in My Heart would be aired after KGS's current affairs programs on Friday and Saturday. The broadcast time was 6:30 p.m., and 2 episodes would be aired first. There would be adjustments based on the viewership ratings. If the viewership ratings were high, it would be pushed back 2 hours to prime time. If the viewership ratings were low, it would be pushed back 5 hours. This was the best condition that SPG could get. This was the best they could do for this Hua drama. The rest would depend on the performance of Autumn in My Heart. Yang Yani and Song Jiayi had limited information about Autumn in My Heart. They only knew a little about Autumn in My Heart from the internet. They only knew that it was very popular in China. Of course, the two of them hoped that Autumn in My Heart would be a hit in South Korea, but it was unrealistic. After sitting for about 10 minutes, it was almost time for the broadcast. There were only 3 or 4 more people in the room. These Korean interns were probably curious about the Hua drama that their company was representing. Moreover, there were no other popular dramas or variety shows at this time, so they came with the idea of watching something new. This could be heard from their whispers. Song Jiayi had been in South Korea for 2 years, and her Korean was pretty good. Therefore, she could understand what others were saying, so she felt a little uncomfortable. This discomfort turned into indignation. She could not help but pray in her heart for Autumn in My Heart, which she had yet to watch. She prayed that it would at least not embarrass itself. After the current affairs news, the opening scene of Autumn in My Heart appeared on the television screen. This urban romance drama that was imported from China was officially broadcast in South Korea. Song Jiayi and Yang Yani were surprised to find that Autumn in My Heart did not have any redubbing. It was the original sound with bilingual subtitles. This made the two of them feel incomparably close. They immediately threw away those messy thoughts and focused on enjoying the show. They wanted to know what kind of charm this drama that had created a miracle in the country had. An episode was 45 minutes long. Including the advertisements at the beginning and end, it took about 100 minutes to finish 2 episodes. Song Jiayi and Yang Yani sat there and did not leave for even a minute. After they finished watching, they felt that this drama was really good. The storyline was unique, the production and images were excellent, and the soundtrack was not inferior to the mainstream dramas in South Korea. Most importantly, the male and female leads of the first 2 episodes had not appeared yet, but the two of them were already attracted, and they were looking forward to the following plot. It's a very interesting TV series. A voice suddenly sounded behind them, giving Song Jiayi and Yang Yani a shock. The two of them turned around and saw that there were 20 to 30 people sitting a few rows behind them. They were all trainees like them, and the one who spoke was a Korean girl that they had a good relationship with. Seeing Song Jiayi and Yang Yani's shocked expressions, the girl smiled. I like this story very much. There should be more tomorrow, right? We can come and watch it together then. Song Jiayi nodded blankly. Oh, okay. Suddenly, she had an idea. Pulling Yang Yani along, she ran to the computer room on the same floor. Then, she swiped her card and went online. She used the local search engine to search for content related to Autumn in My Heart. Plot, stills, and highlights. Through the relevant links, Song Jiayi entered the official forum of Autumn in My Heart. She was surprised to find that the forum had more than 1 million followers. It was very popular, and the atmosphere in the forum was also very good. There were many posts discussing the overseas broadcast of Autumn in My Heart. Most of these posts were speculations about the ratings, or blessings and wishes. Through the discussion posts, Song Jiayi found out that the author and male lead of Autumn in My Heart had actually made a bold statement about the ratings of the drama in South Korea. If the ratings exceeded 10%, he would give his fans 1,000 South Korean games. Such a shocking sum left Song Jiayi speechless, and she was even more amazed at Lu Chen's ambition. A 10% rating. Although Song Jiayi did not believe that Autumn in My Heart could achieve such a result, she was also infected by Lu Chen's lofty aspirations. She could not help but use her own account to post a post on the forum. I'm in Seoul, South Korea. I just finished watching Autumn in My Heart, and it was pretty good. There was a time difference of 1 hour between South Korea and China. It was 8:30 p.m. here, and it was 7:30 p.m. in China. It was the peak time for netizens to surf the net, and the forum was very popular. Therefore, the moment Song Jiayi's post was posted, there were immediately many replies. However, these replies were not very friendly. F***CK, trying to trick replies again. Level 1 Smurf. The OP is posting in South Korea, and I'm replying from Planet Namek. Please reply if you receive it. Seoul, South Korea. Isn't Seoul the capital of America? Why is it in South Korea? This doesn't make sense. F***CK off. Is it real or fake? There's no picture, no truth. The OP's registered ID is a girl. If it's a real girl, please don't make up stories. Thank you. I'm dying of laughter. Song Jiayi did not expect such an outcome, and was instantly dumbfounded. Yan Yani, who was sitting beside her, saw it and was so angry that she immediately ran to the media room next door to record a short video with her phone. Send it up and let them see. I'll slap these people to death. After the video was uploaded, there was a huge change in the direction of the post. F***CK, it's true. KGS TV station, I've wronged the OP, sorry. OP, where are you? Why does this place feel weird? Television station? OP, please take a picture. So many girls, please tell us the truth. Chapter 334. Autumn in My Heart signed an agency contract with SPG on the 5th of March and aired on KGS on the 25th. In just 20 days, SPG's efficiency was considered very high. The domestic rerun of Autumn in My Heart had not ended yet, and KGS had already aired 4 episodes on the 25th and 26th. Spring had bought the copyright of Autumn in My Heart for an ulterior motive. In order to save time and cost, they did not invest in the marketing of the drama and only released relevant information on their official website and blogs. KGS similarly did not place much importance on Autumn in My Heart. Other than the show preview a few days before the broadcast, there was no fanfare at all, and it felt a little sneaky. It could be said that apart from Lu Chin, no one was really optimistic about the performance of Autumn in My Heart in South Korea. Even the loudest fans were mostly just being stubborn. The South Korean drama market was not that easy to move. After the first 4 episodes of Autumn in My Heart were aired, the ratings were released very quickly. This inevitably attracted a lot of attention. 2, 83%, 3, 7%, 5, 58%, 6, 12%, the average rating was 4%. The ratings of South Korean dramas were different from China. The 3 major TV stations took turns to be the bankers, unlike China, where a drama could have a celebration party if it had a rating of 1%. The average rating of 4% was still passable, but it was nothing compared to those popular dramas that easily had ratings of 10%. For example, the currently popular MBC historical drama, The Power of the Queen, had a rating of close to 30%. Compared to this gorgeous new drama that had an investment of 10 billion won, Autumn in My Heart was like an ugly duckling. However, SPG and KGS's emphasis on Autumn in My Heart had a clear change. The average rating of 4% was not high, but from the first episodes 83% to the 4th episode 12%, the ratings had more than doubled. This increase was shocking. One must know that Autumn in My Heart was a foreign drama, and it was a Chinese drama that had never been popular in the South Korean market. Without any investment in marketing, it had gained such a huge increase in just 2 days, which meant that this drama was going to be a hit. Based on the current ratings alone, Autumn in My Heart had already set a record for similar Chinese dramas being broadcasted on South Korean TV stations. There was a huge potential for improvement in the future. Most importantly, KGS found out through a phone interview with a subordinate agency that Blue was very well received by the audience, with more than 90% positive reviews. On the internet, especially in TV-related forums, there were also discussions about Blue. This is the first Chinese drama I've ever watched. It's surprisingly good. The male lead is very handsome and the female lead is very beautiful. The acting skills of the two are very good. This is a good drama worth recommending. The storyline is also very good. Did you guys notice that the names of the characters are very Korean? Other than the background, it feels like an outstanding Korean drama, not a Chinese drama. I've watched a few Hua dramas in the past, but they can't compare at all. Spoiler alert, this is a tragedy. Go to hell for spoilers. The unexpected viewership ratings and good reviews made SPG feel like they had found a treasure. Therefore, SPG and KGS met again and arranged a new publicity plan for Autumn in My Heart. KGS adjusted the broadcast time and delayed Blue to prime time. They also changed the broadcast time from 4 episodes per 2 days to 3 episodes per 3 days, extending the broadcast time. With the investment of publicity funds, Autumn in My Heart's popularity in Korea suddenly increased. And the effect was immediate. The 5th episode on April 1st had a viewership rating of 9.37%. The 6th episode on April 2nd had a viewership rating of 12.79%. On Sunday night, April 3rd, KGS aired the 7th episode of Autumn in My Heart. When Song Jae and Yang Yani arrived at the multimedia room on time, they were shocked to find that it was filled with people. There were basically no empty seats. The two looked at each other, a strong sense of pride rising in their hearts. Since when did Chinese dramas become so popular in Korea? The two girls even keenly sensed that the gazes of the trainees on the scene had changed. That night, Blue's viewership rating reached 15.86%. Other than the surge in viewership ratings, the drama's viewership was also increasing significantly. Just like the high-definition digital TVs in China, the digital set-top boxes used by Korean TV viewers were equipped with a playback function. Many viewers were watching the first few episodes of Autumn in My Heart at different times. This was also a sign that Autumn in My Heart's viewership was exploding. The next morning, Song Jae and Yang Yani had just finished their training and were about to rest when they were called to the office by the person in charge of the training center. An executive from SPG was already waiting there. The other party informed Song Jae and Yang Yani that the two had been selected to return to China and prepare to participate in the filming of Lu Chen's new drama. Song Jae and Yang Yani could not believe it when they heard the news. After confirming that it was true, the two could not help but cry tears of joy. Their hard work and perseverance had finally paid off. At the same time, the news of Autumn in My Heart's steadily increasing viewership in Korea quickly spread back to China. The latest episode's viewership rating had exceeded 15%. With 13 more episodes to go, the average viewership rating of the drama was already set to exceed 10%, and it would be far more than that. Since when did Chinese dramas become so popular in Korea? Many people in the industry who knew about the situation were shocked and went to Lu Chen's studio to inquire about the news. As for the fans of Lu Chen and Chen Fei, they were completely boiling. They didn't know the real significance of Autumn in My Heart being popular in South Korea, but they understood that Lu Chen and Chen Fei were going to fulfill their promises. This is a big deal. In the recording studio of Flying Stone Records, Lu Chen said to Chen Fei, "You're going to pay for your dowry." At the beginning, in order to fight back against the entertainment aspect, Big V, Lu Chen's original idea was to reach 10% of the viewership rating of Autumn in My Heart. Then he would draw out the first, second, and third prizes from the fans. The first prize would be 10 places for a luxury tour in South Korea, the second prize would be 100 places for a happy tour, and the third prize would be 1,000 souvenirs. As a result, Chen Fei scoffed at this and changed it to not be divided into the first, second, and third prizes, and directly draw 1,000 pairs. The announcement was made in 2 parts to give the fans a big surprise. Such a big surprise made Lu Chen really stunned. Lu Chen actually wanted to tell his girlfriend that in his dream world, the original Korean drama's viewership rating in South Korea reached 40% plus. Although the current situation was different, he believed that it should not be a big problem to get an average viewership rating of 20%. This meant that he would have to pay tens of millions of yuan, which was not enough even if he spent all the money he earned from selling to SPG. And Chen Fei's reason was very simple. If he wanted to play, he would play big. If he really made a name for himself in South Korea, it would be worth it no matter how much money he spent. As for the cost, she would cover it. A mere few million or tens of millions of yuan was not even a fraction of Heavenly Empress Chen's dowry. To Lu Chen's teasing, she proudly expressed her disdain. Chapter 335. On the 8th, 9th, and 10th of April, KGS continued to broadcast the 8th, 9th, and 10th episodes of Autumn in My Heart. Since both KGS and SPG had invested sufficient resources in marketing, coupled with the reputation they had built up in the early stages, the total of 20 episodes of Autumn in My Heart successfully broke the 20% mark and reached 22.31%. This caused quite a commotion in Korea. Firstly, among all the Chinese dramas imported by the three major Korean TV stations, Autumn in My Heart had jumped to third place in the viewership ratings, second only to Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Dream of the Red Chamber, both of which were produced in the 1990s. Among similar dramas, Autumn in My Heart had undoubtedly set a record for Chinese dramas in Korea, and most importantly, it had the potential to continue improving. SPG could be said to have unintentionally planted a willow tree, and according to the contract it signed with KGS, it would not be a problem to recoup the cost, and profits would not be a problem as well. Coupled with the agency agreement with Lu Chen's studio, they had made a huge profit. This Korean entertainment company had been in China for many years, and their representative, Park Young-ho, was half Chinese, so he understood the psychology of the Chinese people. Under his instructions, SPG's official account on Waves not only broadcast the ratings of Autumn in My Heart on time, but also forwarded the good reviews from the Korean media and audience. Many Korean media outlets were in disbelief over the popularity of Autumn in My Heart. In Korea, influential newspapers and magazines such as Chosun Sinbo, Hanseong Daily, Hanwon Weekly, and other influential newspapers and magazines all published articles to explore the reasons for the popularity of this drama. Some tabloids even exclaimed that, Hua Lu's counterattack. Although this statement was too exaggerated, and was basically a sensationalist headline, it also reflected the influence of Autumn in My Heart. Unlike China, the proportion of Korean television viewers was very high, and dramas and variety shows were the most popular, so the ratings of strong dramas could easily reach tens of percent. As for the reason why the Korean audience liked Autumn in My Blood, there were basically two main reasons. The first reason was that they liked the plot of Autumn in My Blood. The strange combination of fate, heartbreaking emotional entanglements, and the foreign setting attracted a group of housewives. Lu Chen had purposely turned the names of the characters in the story into Korean, which also increased the audience's affinity to a certain extent. The second group was the young audience. Lu Chen's tall and handsome looks, Chen Fei's pure and beautiful looks, and the wonderful performances of the supporting actors and actresses made them suddenly realize that there were also outstanding and charming idols in the entertainment industry of the Ling Nation. It must be pointed out here that Chen Fei, who had participated in many Sino-Korean music concerts, had a bit of fame in Korea. With the help of Autumn in My Heart, her popularity skyrocketed more than tenfold. As for Lu Chen, needless to say, his Korean fan support group had already appeared on Korean social media. Although it was unofficial, the number of members had reached tens of thousands, and most of them were girls. Interestingly, on the 10th, Your Eyes, the theme song of Autumn in My Heart, performed by Lu Chen and Chen Fei, entered the K-pop chart as a Chinese song, ranking at number 27. The K-pop chart was the most authoritative music chart in Korea. There were only a total of 30 positions. As the Korean entertainment industry was extremely developed, and the songs on the chart were not limited to Korean or foreign languages, the competition for this chart was very fierce. It was already very commendable that Your Eyes was able to enter the chart. All kinds of records and honors caused Autumn in My Heart to set off a small storm in Korea. KGS even used this drama to compete head-on with MBC's popular drama, The Power of the Queen, to compete for advertising resources. This was unimaginable in the past. It was completely achieved by Autumn in My Heart with its own strength. And these records and honors were all told by SPG to the domestic fans of Autumn in My Heart through the Waves blog. The vast number of fans of Autumn in My Heart were naturally excited again, feeling that it was too glorious. SPG used this opportunity to reap a huge wave of favorability points. The number of fans on the blog actually increased by more than 10 times. Many fans of Autumn in My Heart, as well as fans of Lu Chen and Chen Feier, went to the verified account Entertainment Side View blog to leave a message. Waiting for the blogger to run naked. Blogger, show some of your qualities and run naked on the streets. The viewership rating is 31%. When is the blogger going to run naked? Didn't you say that everyone would go and watch? I think the blogger's face is already swollen from the slap. He should be too embarrassed to face anyone. Everyone, disperse. You have nothing to say now, right? This verified account had previously said that if Autumn in My Heart broke 10% in Korea's viewership ratings, he would run naked on the streets. Now that it was only halfway through the broadcast, it was already a foregone conclusion that it would break 10%. His face had already been slapped until it could not be any more swollen. This showed one thing. As a public figure, it was very important to be careful with your words and actions. You should not speak too confidently, otherwise, you might not be able to step down from the stage. Of course, those who managed to become an internet celebrity on the blog were usually thick-skinned. After a few days of silence, Entertainment Perspective posted a new blog post, saying that he would keep his promise after Autumn in My Heart ended its broadcast in South Korea. What made people spurt rice was that just as Entertainment Side View said that he would keep his promise, Police Officer V. Safe Capital replied to him, exposing private parts of the body in public, including running naked, is a violation of public security regulations. He will be detained for 3 days as punishment. This matter immediately became a big joke on the Waves blog. The domestic media also took the opportunity to join in the fun. Many mainstream media reported the news of Autumn in My Heart being a hit in Korea, praising this TV series for winning glory for Chinese dramas. Indeed, the domestic film and television market was unprecedentedly prosperous, but excellent original works were rare, especially those that could be successfully broadcast on foreign television stations. That was even rarer. If they did not praise such a thing, what else could they praise? Compared to the clamor on the internet and the media adding fuel to the fire, the response in the domestic film and television industry was completely different. Although there were some voices of jealousy, most of them were researching and discussing why Autumn in My Heart could achieve such great success. In terms of investment, the investment for Autumn in My Heart was no more than 10 million. In terms of the star lineup, there were no other big shots other than Chen Feier, and all the supporting roles were originally unknown newcomers. In terms of production, the producer Chinda Brothers Pictures was a junior in the industry. In terms of story, Autumn in My Heart was a tragedy. However, this low-budget TV series completely crushed those huge productions with hundreds of millions of investment and stars. Many film and television companies were ready to make a move. The success of Autumn in My Heart allowed them to see a shining golden path, and that was to follow the trend and imitate. The trend of imitating in the domestic film and television series had a long history, and it was seen as a shortcut to make money. When a movie or TV series became popular, there would inevitably be a large number of imitators competing for the market. Autumn in My Heart was so successful that it would be strange if there was no imitator, especially when Lu Chen had publicly announced that there would be no sequel to this TV series. It was as if people saw a large piece of fat being thrown to the ground. As a result, many screenwriters and authors in the Beijing circle received orders. The requirements of the investors were all to write a new script according to the model of Autumn in My Heart. The timing was getting better, and the plot was more similar, the better. Not only that, several film and television companies had already announced the start of new projects, and if one looked carefully at their publicity announcements, one could see the shadow of autumn in my heart. But for the tens of thousands of Chen and Fei fans, they did not care about those pirated TV series. What they cared about was when would Lu Chen's new TV series be released. After the premiere of Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chen had said that he would release a new TV series this year. The new TV series had nothing to do with Autumn in My Heart, and it was not the sequel of the latter. This made the fans extremely look forward to it, but 2 months had passed, and Lu Chen's studio had not released any relevant information. No film and television company had announced that they would cooperate with Lu Chen. The patience of the fans was always limited, especially when the good news of Autumn in My Heart in South Korea came. They wanted Lu Chen to give a clear answer. How long do we have to wait? Countless fans ran to Lu Chen and Chen Fei's blogs to leave messages. This resentment was so strong that even Lu Chen felt great pressure and had to speak out. In fact, it was not that Lu Chen was deliberately hanging everyone's appetite, but during this period of time, he had been busy with the top priority of this year, that was, Chen Fei's new album. It was not new for Chen Fei to release a new album. She has released more than 10 albums, but this album was very unusual. It was her transformational work. For a long time, Chen Fei has been dubbed the Queen of Sweet Song. This title was both an honor and a burden, especially at her age. Coupled with the changes in the market, transformation was imperative. And whether the transformation could be successful or not was related to Chen Fei's music career, so of course she attached great importance to it. Under such circumstances, how could Lu Chen, who was in charge of half of the new album, stay out of it? As one of the producers of the album, he was duty-bound to stay in Flying Stone Records. It was also because of his great importance that Chen Fei's requirements for the new album reached a demanding level. In order to complete the album, she pushed off a lot of announcements and endorsement activities, and repeatedly polished the work in the recording studio, especially the arrangement, which was even more elaborate. Big delay in the completion time. So when the album was finally recorded, it was already mid-April. Fortunately, Lu Chen also squeezed out time to write all the new scripts during this period. He had an explanation for his fans. Chapter 336. On the evening of April 15th, Lu Chen officially announced his plans to shoot a new TV series on his blog. In this blog post, he first thanked his fans for their support, apologized for the delay in revealing the news of the new TV series, and specially explained that it was because of the production of Chen Fei's album. Of course, the main point was that the script of the new TV series had been written and would soon enter the project production link. As for the questions that fans were most concerned about, Lu Chen answered 3 in the blog post. First of all, about the genre of the new work, it was still an urban romance drama, but the story would not be the same as that of Indigo. Secondly, the new TV series had more episodes than Indigo, which was expected to be 25 episodes. Finally, the male and female leads were still Lu Chen and Chen Fei. As soon as the news revealed on Lu Chen's blog was announced, it first caused a huge sensation in the fan circle. It was really called out. Everyone was looking forward to it, and now there was finally accurate and reliable news. It's finally here. It's not easy. I hope it can be filmed and broadcast as soon as possible. Yeah, after watching Autumn in My Heart, I always feel fake and awkward when I watch other shows. I don't like it. Big Lu Chen, what's the name of the new TV series? It's still my Chen and my Fei, hooray. Throwing flowers to celebrate, the fans were in high spirits, but the people in the circle heard the news and broke the threshold of Lu Chen's studio. Lu Shi's phone directly exploded. There were too many units that wanted to cooperate with Lu Chen and Lu Chen's studio on the new TV series. Many famous big companies in the industry sent representatives to negotiate, such as Jia Hua, Crown, Jean Libao, etc., which were all big shots. There were also TV stations, Zhidong Satellite TV, Haijin Satellite TV, Deep Sea Satellite TV, Beijing Television. They also called to seek cooperation opportunities. Autumn in My Heart was really too popular. Not only did it break the ratings record in China, but it was also broadcast in South Korea. The next step was likely to be promoted to Japan and other Southeast Asian countries, which was really good and popular. Everyone had missed this incomparably delicious big cake, so how could they just stand by and watch the new cake be indifferent? That was why investors and partners came one after another. In addition to these companies and units, many entertainment agencies also wanted a piece of the pie. Many star artists were interested in playing a role in the new drama, and they all used their connections to find Lu Chen's studio. Lu Chen even received a call from Chen Jianhao. This would-be nanny dad had retired and was preparing to become a father. Logically speaking, he should not care about the affairs of the world anymore. Unfortunately, as someone who used to be in the circle, he could not get rid of the entanglement of relationships in the circle. He was asked to speak to Lu Chen. It's impossible to be the main character, let's have a supporting role. There were really a lot of people who wanted roles, such as Flying Stone Records, Light Rain Media, and SPG. There were several that Lu Chen had agreed to or had agreements with earlier. There were too many monks and not enough meat. It was precisely because of this that when Lu Chen wrote the script, he made a lot of changes to the original plot framework, adding more characters, strengthening the plot, and correcting the existing bugs. Of course, the idea of his new drama still came from the dream world, but it would never be a copy. In this way, in addition to producing a higher quality than the original, there would also be more room for operation. On the second day after Lu Chen announced the news, two acquaintances of Beijing TV station came to him. These two people, Lu Chen, also had to personally come out to receive them, Chen Qi and Gurue. Chen Qi was the deputy director of Beijing TV station, and Gurue was the artistic director of the program department. When Lu Chen participated in Beijing Television's Singing China talent show, they took good care of Lu Chen. After meeting, Chen Qi said straightforwardly to Lu Chen, "Xiao Lu, you have to leave a share of this new drama for Beijing TV. We can't miss out on the filming, production, and premiere. As for the conditions, you can ask for anything. As long as I can agree to it, it's no problem." Beijing TV didn't want to eat alone. What they were plotting was joint production and joint premiere. Nowadays, many popular TV series or movie blockbusters are cooperated by means of joint investment, filming, and broadcasting. On the one hand, it is to share risks, and on the other hand, it is to expand their influence. Another very important reason is that it is difficult for people who like to eat alone to stand firm in the circle. Including Lu Chen. He was able to rise rapidly in the entertainment industry. In addition to his own strength, paying attention to the management of interpersonal relationships is also one of the key factors. Only by knowing how to share benefits can he be so smooth. Some people don't understand this truth and always want to keep all the profits in their own pockets. As a result, they often hit their heads and bleed, and in the end, the gains do not make up for the losses. For Lu Chen to establish a foothold in Beijing to develop his career, it is undoubtedly necessary to establish a long-term friendly cooperative relationship with Beijing TV station, so he does not exclude the participation of Beijing TV. Of course, the premise is to ensure his own core interests. Even if he's seated apart, he must exchange it for the equivalent value. Beijing TV can cooperate, and Zhejiang TV can also cooperate. The premiere rights can be distributed to several TV stations. But there are some interests that Lu Chen will not easily give up. For example, product placement. The so-called product placement is a form of advertising that has emerged with the development of movies, TV, games, etc. It refers to deliberately inserting a business's products or services in the film and television plot and games to achieve a subtle publicity effect. Because the audience has a natural resistance to advertising, the practice of integrating goods into these entertainment methods is often much better than rigid sales promotion. Nowadays, the domestic film and television industry is developing rapidly, and there are more and more product placement advertisements in TV series and movies. Some of the high-profile superstar blockbusters have signed a large number of product placement contracts before shooting, so that the production costs have been recovered in advance. When Lu Chen shot Autumn in My Heart, he was still unknown in the film and television industry. Now that he has become famous, there are more advertisers who have come to him. For example, Senki Clothing, Zhonghua Automobile, Thunderbird Watch, Lanjia Daily Cosmetics, etc., which he endorses, are all interested in placing their own advertisements in the new drama. Lu Shi roughly estimated that if he won all the product placement advertisements of these big brands, he could earn at least more than 20 million in advertising fees. In this way, even if the script is settled, the new drama can't be shot just because he wants to. It involves various interests, and it's not easy to straighten it out. Otherwise, it's easy to cause the outflow of rights and interests. Lu Chen irresponsibly threw all these troubles to his sister. What he is most concerned about now is not the new drama that is about to be shot, but Chen Fei's new album that is about to be released on the market. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.